Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. I am Sheila Gunn-Reid. I'm the host of Rebel Roundup, and I'm joined each day by, well, sometimes a different one, sometimes the same co-host. Today, it's my friend and colleague, Tamara Ugolini in beautiful downtown Cobourg, Ontario. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good, Sheila. And how are you doing over there on the West Coast? West side, I should say.
We're west of the country, east of the Rockies, west of the rest. It's kind of nice today. It's 15 degrees. I took my laptop
Wow.
outside for a little bit, so we'll see how long that lasts. I Was out there until the geese annoyed me, and then I came back inside. Lots to talk about today. We've got the boss joining very shortly to talk about his adventures yesterday in Brampton at the Pierre Poilievre rally with a focus on stopping the crime that the Liberals have allowed to explode thanks to their, I guess, a host of problems: immigration, soft on crime policies, repealing mandatory minimum sentencing because of DEI. So your country is far less safe. It's a mess. I think at one point yesterday in the crowd, a quarter of the people put their hands up to say that they had their cars stolen. So just insane. But if you wouldn't mind telling everybody what we're doing, how they can get involved, and then we'll get started on the show.
Yeah. So we're streaming on a few different platforms. Well, two different platforms. We are currently on Rumble or YouTube, and YouTube has traditionally over the last few years been the censorious one. So we like to channel our support over to Rumble, but we also have just been remonetized after a few year hiatus on YouTube. So for all of our YouTube subscribers, of which there are millions, you can support our work and engage with us directly on the show through a small monetary donation of $5 or more. And it's called a super chat. And so you can give us a super chat and we will read your comment or tip or whatever you have to say, as long as it doesn't go against YouTube's community guidelines, as they like to say. We will read that live on air. And if it's a little bit too spicy, then maybe we'll just use some different language in order to be able to still get the point across, because it's all about how you word things, it seems like, when you're dealing with YouTube. But anyway, so you can also, after the stream, after we are no longer live, you can give us a super thanks. And so that thanks us for our work, because we're giving you live unscripted news of the day through our 1 hour daily live stream. And then on Rumble, you can give us what's called a Rumble rant. And so these are great opportunities for us to get to know who's watching us, what you have to say, what your perspective is on all of this, if you have anything new to add. And it's also a great way for us to continue to maintain all of the various moving parts that go into making this live stream possible, because you see Sheila and I, or whoever else, our rotating set of guests front and center, but there's a whole team behind us making sure that the links are accessible, having the write-ups there so that you know what we're going to talk about, compiling everything together. So the list literally goes on and on. So we really appreciate your generosity and support. And then throughout the stream, we'll also read some ads that helps to generate a little bit of extra income from Rumble. So stick around for all of that, because we have tons of stuff to chat about. But I believe that Rebel Boss and Rebel Commander, as endearing as that sounds, Ezra is going to be joining us. I'm not sure if he is quite ready yet, but he'll be joining us to chat a little bit. There he is.
There he is.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Oh,
Good, thanks.
we're doing
How are
great.
you, Ezra?
Well, thanks for letting me sit in the chair. I love the live streams. I'm so busy running around half the time, but I love the live streams. We started a daily live stream in the middle of the pandemic because there was so much news to cover. Plus, you really couldn't go anywhere. We were on the no-fly list because most of us were jabbed. So, anyhow, it's great that we've kept the live stream tradition alive, and I am glad that YouTube has remonetized us with super chats and things like that. I don't trust YouTube.
No.
This week in Congress, they've been grilling Facebook, and it's been revealed that Facebook worked with the Communist Party of China to design censorship software for them. Absolutely disgraceful. I think Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp should be busted up, Trustbuster style. Just smash it to pieces a little bit. And I think Google, YouTube, the same thing there. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but I did some years ago, and I hope I'm not telling tales out of school. I am a little bit. I was at a meeting hosted by Peter Thiel with I'd say about 10 senior executives from Google. And it was fascinating to see how those Google executives saw themselves and saw the company. These were patriots. These were freedom-loving Americans who were sort of having this meeting. It was astonishing that I was invited. And these companies, and I'm not going to refer to what was said in that meeting because let's say Chatham House rules. But in general, I don't think it'll surprise you to learn that many of the workers at companies like YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram don't even regard themselves as American citizens. They regard themselves as larger than that. They think that thinking themselves as an American citizen is a colonialist way of thinking, a Western Occidentalist, straight heterosexual way of thinking. Rather, they belong to the world. They belong to the planet. So they have no loyalty to America. In fact, the foreign engineers who work at a place like Google are probably more patriotic American than the Americans they hired. Now, we saw a lot of that with the absolute wackadoodles who were sacked from Twitter when Elon Musk took over. He sacked 80% of the company, and the product didn't suffer at all. In fact, it's better than ever. These companies have so much cash flow that hiring 1 or 10 or 1,000, or in the case of Facebook, hiring 40,000 censors, hiring 40,000 censors still doesn't sop up all the cash. That's a problem when you got that much money. Every stupid idea gets greenlit, and then these little empires get started. Anyway, that's a long way of saying Twitter is a force for good. It's a force for freedom, only because Elon Musk took it over and purged it. Rumble.com is a force for freedom because it was built that way and designed that way, and their senior executives believe in that. But Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and all those others at best are neutral, but usually are an anti-American, anti-Western force for censorship and still deeply woke. Just wanted to mention that. That all came from Tamara saying that we still get some super chats these days. Yeah, but that's my extremely long-winded way of saying I don't trust it for a second. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you one thing. If Donald Trump were no longer president, God forbid, it would take one heartbeat for all these companies to move back to full censorship mode. That's what's scary to me, is what will happen when Trump is gone. Anyways, did you guys talk about the lawsuit that we filed against Yara Sachs on Monday? Can I talk about that a little bit?
Please.
Team in the control room. I don't know if you want to go to stopdeplatforming.com. I've been away for a little while, so let me catch up on a few things. I want to talk about my trip to Brampton yesterday for Pierre Poilievre's rally, and I promise I'll do that before I go because there's some videos I want to show. And I want to tell you my take on the campaign. And spoiler alert, I'm worried. I'm worried about how the campaign's going. Let me tell you one thing I observed. I was in Brampton yesterday. I got there 2 hours early because, Sheila, I saw your video from Edmonton of 10, 12, 15,000 people coming out to say, and I thought, wow, that's exciting. That's huge. I'd rather see those numbers in Ontario, but still Edmonton, there's the odd Liberal who sneaks through there, so I was glad for it. So I went to a Pierre Poilievre rally that was scheduled to start at 6. I got there before 4 p.m. I went more than 2 hours early, thinking it would be lined up like it was lined up in Edmonton 3 hours early. I parked right by the main door. Like the park, like there was so much, like I was so early. There was about 100 people ahead of me in line. It's true. Parking was no problem. The venue itself was an urban convention center. So it wasn't like a mega airplane hangar or something like that. Yeah. You know, sometimes in hotel convention centers, the room can be partitioned. They did that yesterday. They had this big old ballroom, and then about half an hour before showtime, they closed one of the partitions to make the room seem smaller. As in, they thought they would have had, and the partition would have probably held 1,000 people. So they closed the room to make it smaller. There's a rule in politics: always be in a slightly small room so it always looks packed. That room last night was not even full. And, you know, it just, I thought, you're in the Greater Toronto area. Brampton is about a half-hour drive away from Toronto proper. Brampton's a very multicultural district. Well, the Conservative Party has all multicultural candidates, including a ton of Sikh candidates. So you're appealing to the demographics. You're in the heart of Brampton. It's on a very accessible road. Like, there's no reason why that event should not have been packed. And it wasn't. And of course, you know, the speech by Pierre Poilievre was fine, and Anna Poilievre, the star of the show, as always. But my friends, I got to tell you, if 19 days before, it's 18 days before the election now, you can't fill a big room like that in Toronto, that does not bode well. And I am nervous. And a few days ago, Abacus Research, that's David Coloto's pollster, said it was all tied up, 39-39. And I said, oh, okay, that's not great, but the Conservatives have the enthusiasm advantage. Yesterday, he came out with the latest version of his poll that shows and now a 6-point lead. It's 42% for the Liberals. Yeah, throw that on the screen. 42% for the Liberals, 36% for the Conservatives. That's a little bit scary to me. Now, of course, the NDP is literally nowhere. They've been cut in half. They're at 11%. They're going to be crushed. The People's Party is, it's 3%. It's not going to get a single seat. The Green Party might keep 1 or 2 seats, but you're seeing 2 things. Number one, the NDP totally collapsing towards the Liberals.
Yep.
And number 2, a lot of people hated Justin Trudeau, and now that he's gone, they're considering the Liberals again, especially in Ontario. And this makes me concerned with 18 days left to go. Let me show you about the biggest clown running for Parliament. His name is Jagmeet Singh. He's the most unserious politician Canada's had. Let me show you an outtake from his rally. I love being youthful and fun, but you have to have something other than just a TikTok creator. Take a look at Jagmeet Singh. I want to play this whole clip. Here's him at his, note the incredibly tight framing of this shot. There was only about a dozen people in the room. Every single person here, whatever candidates are, they're going to lose. Jagmeet Singh's going to lose. This party will likely get 5 seats or left. Take a look.
We're all going to jump together. Get ready, everybody.
Oh my
We're going to
goodness,
show
look
them
at the
that we're
lady in the
ready.
wheelchair.
We're ready to
Oh,
fight.
no.
We're ready to win.
No.
Here we go. Get ready. Get ready. Get warmed up. Get warmed up. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go. Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
No one's ready.
Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Yes, thank you so much. The floor is actually shaking. We're all gonna jump.
I mean,
there's a woman in a wheelchair, and he's like, "Everybody, get up and jump." Didn't Biden do that?
yeah.
I can't. I'm having secondhand embarrassment for everybody involved, and I don't even like these people.
The thing is, I don't mind a guy having a little bit of fun. If there's something else there, like you're running for office in deeply serious times, and he is a deeply unserious man. And it's all got, there's a kind of Protestant youth pastor vibe that tries so hard to be cool and tries
needs more smoke machines.
Yeah, that's right. That's the vibe I'm getting from Jagmeet Singh. He's coming up on 50, if he's not 50 already. He's got some gray in his beard, but he's acting like he's a 21-year-old TikTok content creator. There's nothing else there. Wub Kinew, the premier of Manitoba, is sort of cool and sort of youthful and sort of hip, but there's some real substance there too. I have to say, I'm so surprised every time I see Wub Kinew, and I was an extreme critic of his.
Me too.
I am, every day I think this guy's good. And not just good at the art of politics. He's got a sensibility to him. He's got a moderateness to him. I think I like him. And he's an NDP. Do you want to grab a Wub Kinew video, almost anything? I don't know if he's on TikTok or it's on Twitter. Like even the way he's talked about Canada-US relations, he's been much more responsible than Mark Carney. And his language has not been unnecessarily incendiary. If you can grab a Wub Kinew video, not this one, but like one of his prepared ones, like he did one, I think he was in Washington, walking near the reflecting pool near the Lincoln Memorial. So click on media. Yeah, exactly right. And it was when he was in DC. If you can find one, if not, don't worry about it. It's just this guy has risen to the occasion. The exact opposite of shallow Jagmeet Singh. One day, Wub Kinew might actually be the leader in the national NDP. I don't think he has any French, but imagine an Indigenous leader of the NDP who actually has some substance and some experience governing.
I was going to say that would be the best thing that ever happened to the Conservatives. I always point to Thomas Mulcair, he was the reason that Harper was in power so long, because there wasn't a collapse of the NDP vote. And he split the progressive vote, and the Conservatives came up the middle.
Yeah. Turn the sound up on this Wub Kinew video you had there.
That's pretty awesome, eh? Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, Canada. This is our home and native land. And I think today, all of us are patriots. And our team is here to reassure everyone in Manitoba and across the country that we will always be the true North, strong and free. So first step is unity. First step is showing that we're willing to stick up for ourselves, and then just being able to play those cards in successive rounds to get the outcome that protects your jobs and protects your family.
That's not actually the vid I had in mind, but I found the one I had in mind. Olivia, I'm going to paste it in the live stream Slack. I just put it there. Please do show it, because it made me feel good about being a Canadian, and not a lot of things feel good these days for someone like me. Go ahead and throw that on, and then I want to show a couple of Brampton clips, and then I want to talk very briefly about the lawsuit, and then I'll get out of here. And Tamara and Sheila, I'm sorry, I'm just sort of taking over the live
No,
stream.
it's good. I do this 5 days a week. I'm happy to have somebody else talk for a bit.
Here's the bit I had in mind. It's him standing at the reflecting pool. You can see the Washington Monument there. So this is scripted. So obviously, he probably had help writing it, but still the fact that he carries it off so nicely and he chose to say it, I think that counts for something. Here's his TikTok bit. This is the one that made me say, hey, Wub Kinew, I don't hate him anymore. Take a look.
Never be the 51st state, but we could be your number one friend. We fought in world wars together. We defeated fascism and communism. We stand up for democracy. We have answered the call on fentanyl and on the border. We don't want tariffs. Because we're so close together, it'll only raise prices for all of us. We're a nation of hockey players. We know how to stand up for ourselves. At the same time, we know how to go for a beer together once the game is over. The winds of change can blow through politics, but they'll never change geography. We will always be neighbors. And we should always be friends.
I sort of
I like
that.
that. I like that. And it's completely the opposite of Mark Carney's vicious anti-Americanism.
Yeah. In fact, can you play that again, Olivia, and play the first 2 seconds? Because the way he starts it is even better. So go full frame. It's so short, play the whole thing. But I think we missed the first 2 seconds, which is what caught me right from the beginning. Take a look.
Canada will never be the 51st state, but we could be your number one friend. We fought in world wars together. We defeated fascism and communism. We stand up for democracy. We have answered the call on fentanyl and on the border. We don't want tariffs. Because we're so close together, it'll only raise prices for all of us. We're a nation of hockey players. We know how to stand up for ourselves. At the same time, we know how to go for a beer together once the game is over. The winds of change can blow through politics, but they'll never change geography. We will always be neighbors.
Imagine if that line, Canada will never be the 51st state, but we can be your number one friend. Isn't that's a lovely way of saying, no thanks, but you know what? There was a niceness there, and his friendliness and his naturalness. If he had been the guy making the response, how can you stay mad at a guy like that? And Trump says, "Oh, the nasty Canadians." I think what Trump was probably thinking of Chrystia Freeland. Like, I'm trying to think, who's a nasty Canadian? There's only one that comes to mind. Carney. Even Trudeau was not. Trudeau was nasty, sort of in secret towards
passive aggressive.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah.
But anyhow, I like Wub Kinew, as you can see, and I'm sure those words will be thrown back at me one day when he does something terrible and socialist. But I was in Brampton yesterday, and look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the energy is on the other side, and I don't know how that's possible. Here's something that might be interesting. Look, there's 18 days till the election. I think. I got to check the math. Yeah, there's 18 days. Oh, my God. That's not a lot of time. But something happened in Ottawa today. Sam Cooper broke news about another Chinese spy running for the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yep.
to replace the last Chinese spy who was sacked after Carney held on to him for a week. Peter Yuen, who used to be the deputy police chief in Toronto, or deputy commissioner, I can't remember which, is going to all these Chinese Communist Party events in Canada, dressed in his full regalia.
Police uniform. Yeah.
Can you grab that video again, Olivia? By the way, you cannot use your uniform for partisan means in Canada. But
Right.
there he is using it for partisan means for the Chinese Communist Party. Here's a
Right.
10
Ask
second.
James Top. Ask James Top how that goes.
Yeah, exactly right. Here's 10 seconds of him at an event with a half dozen other Toronto cops singing a Chinese Communist Party song at an official Chinese Communist Party event. Take a look. So that's 7, 8 Toronto police or other GTA police singing a Chinese Communist Party song in uniform. So let's say you're a Chinese Canadian and one of these cops shows up and speaks to you in Chinese and tells you certain things. Are they representing the Chinese Communist Party, or are they representing the neutral Toronto Police Service?
Or go one step further, Ezra. Sorry to interrupt. Imagine you're a member of the Chinese diaspora
Right.
being intimidated out of the consulate the way
Right.
Michael Chong was.
Right.
And you go to the police to report it and you get one of these dudes.
They would be assigned to you because it's a DEI move.
Mhm.
Let me just say that Sam Cooper broke a story.
Yep.
And then the Globe and Mail went big with it about this cop we just showed you singing his Chinese Communist anthem. Let me show you Mark Carney's response. I was talking to Sam Cooper earlier today, and Sheila, let's see if you or Tamara have the same reaction to me. What is one thing in here that pushes a button in your head of there's an echo here from something earlier? Let's see if you feel that way, because that's how I feel. Take a look. It's about a 1-minute response. Take a look.
My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada? And is the party okay with the fact that Liberal candidate Peter Yuen has been so close with the Chinese consulate and China-friendly groups, given the public inquiry into foreign interference, says that this is a tactic China uses to exert influence?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail. So in your question, and I guess in the article in question, you said I had a meeting with whatever your term was, Beijing group. I've never heard of this group, okay? Never heard of this group. Certainly didn't have a set-up meeting with this group. Full stop. So check your sources before you write things like that, okay? Or your colleagues do. I'm a politician. I go to events where there are hundreds and thousands over the course of a day of different people there. That is not a meeting. If somebody happens to be in the room, takes a picture with me, that's not a meeting, okay? First point. Secondly, with respect to Mr. Yuen, this is a person who has served his community for decades. This is a person who's deputy commissioner of the police, okay? A person in discharge of those responsibilities meets with a variety of community groups in the community because that's his job. That's his responsibility. We're proud to have him as a candidate, and I honor his service, including on today. Thank you.
Now, there's a lot of BS in there, but was there something that triggered a memory for you?
It reminds me of Trudeau denying the Globe and Mail's reporting, I think, on SNC Lavalin.
That's exactly right. I do not think that's a coincidence.
It's also a complete fabrication because then Steve Chase from the Globe and Mail produces photos of Carney meeting with this organization that he says he's never heard of before. He's literally there. It's on the JCC website.
Yeah.
They have a whole write-up about it on
I
their
just put it up.
website, and it's easy to translate. You can see for yourselves what they say about Carney.
Now,
Yeah.
I love poking fun at what I call the media party, the regime media, the mainstream media. Use all those terms. Sometimes I say legacy media when I'm being friendly. I don't use the word lamestream media because that just feels sort of dopey, but I say regime media a lot. Yeah, look at Andy Lee. Look at that photo. I've never heard of the group before. Yeah, and there he is posing with them. But I do not think it's a coincidence that Mark Carney said, "Don't believe the Globe and Mail," because that is such an unusual thing to say about the Globe and Mail for a man of the establishment.
Right.
It echoes what they said to Justin Trudeau, what Justin Trudeau said, rather, when the Globe and Mail blew the lid off the Jody Wilson-Raybould SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal. And I remember Steve Chase saying, I can't remember if it was a private conversation or in public, he said they were a little bit worried when Trudeau just outright denied it because they had a lot of circumstantial evidence, but the key woman herself, Jody Wilson-Raybould, did not go off the record and give them all the background. She kept her oath of confidentiality to caucus and confidence and didn't blab. So they had a lot of circumstantial evidence and a lot of pieces, but they weren't 100% certain. Let's say they were 90% certain. And Trudeau comes out and says the story in the Globe and Mail today is false. And they're thinking, oh my God, did we get it wrong? But in fact, they got it very right. But the fact that Trudeau called them a liar was a stimulus for them to go and prove it. Today, Gerald Butts is advising Mark Carney. Gerald Butts was Trudeau's advisor during the Jody Wilson-Raybould fiasco. I bet you Gerald Butts fed that line to Mark Carney, which is so dumb, because why would you turn Bob Fife and Steve Chase, the lead reporters of the Globe and Mail, why would you taunt them? Why would you get into a fight with people who buy barrels of oil by the barrel, ink by the barrel, excuse me? Like, the Globe and Mail is the most prestigious newspaper of record in the country. It's particularly well read in Ontario and establishment circles. And if you've just taunted them and said your story is false, when all this information is public source, there's no secret source of this information. It's all out there because the Chinese communists are boasting about it. I think that Mark Carney may have made a terrible mistake today. I don't know what you think.
Well,
It reminds me too of him saying, Paul Chang, when he called for the bounty, that it was a teachable moment.
Right.
And then that quickly had to be walked back.
Yeah.
So I wonder what we'll see tomorrow on this file, if there is any indication of how the Liberal Party will backpedal on these remarks, because when he called Paul Chang his bounty on his political opponent a teachable moment, the outrage ensued thereafter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is interesting. I don't think this matter's over. I was talking to Sam Cooper. It'll be on my show tonight. I talked to him about half an hour about this stuff, and he says more is in the pipeline. I absolutely believe it. Hey, I want to talk about one more thing, and then I'll skedaddle and I'll let you guys take over again. I want to go to the lawsuit I filed with rumble.com on Monday. Can you please go, Olivia, to stopdeplatforming.com? That's the website. You know what deplatforming is, right? When you're canceled, when you're either kicked off, let's say, a social media platform, or what happens if you rent an event space and the government of Canada tries to get it canceled. Well, that's what happened to us last May. Every year we have something called Rebel Live. Look at, there's a picture of me and Yara Sachs. Let me read a little bit from the website, stopdeplatforming.com. Last year, scroll up just a tiny bit so I can get the first sentence there. Last year, a Liberal MP tried to destroy us. We're fighting back. Okay, scroll down a little bit. Remember last year when Rebel News held a 2-day conference in Toronto? Hundreds of people came, including many who drove for hours to be there. We teamed up with Rumble, the free speech competitor to YouTube, who brought some of their biggest content creators, including Donald Trump Jr. It was a great event. You can see a little tweet. Boy, that was a fun day. I remember that well. Yara Sachs and the Liberal cancel culture crew. Well, that's the thing. That Freedom Conference almost didn't happen because the Liberal government tried to cancel it. You see, the conference venue was located at Downsview Park, which was a Canadian military base 30 years ago. So the underlying real estate is still the property of the government, and the Liberals, including the local MP Yara Sachs, tried to use that fact to pressure the conference venue into ripping up its contract with us. That's illegal. That's extortion. Hey, click on the lawsuit. I want to show a couple of things from the lawsuit itself. We did an access to information request with the real estate arm of the Canadian government. I don't know if you know this. But the government of Canada is one of the largest landowners in the country. You probably knew that, or you could probably, if you thought about it, you'd probably realize that. And it's managed in large part by something called the Canada Lands Company. That's what they call this federal agency. It's like Canada Post. It's like, there's 100 of these. So you can imagine working for Canada Lands Company. What do you care about? You care about, people paying their rent. You care about maybe you're going to sell some property. You're not political. Like you're managing real estate. You're basically a landlord. And then the local MP says, I don't like Rebel News having an event in my district, York Center. By the way, I live in York Center. And someone says, stop it any way you can. We own that land. Yeah, sure you do. But there's a lease to the venue operator and we sign an agreement. We do something, and Tamara and Sheila, I think you know this. When we book a venue, we stress test the vendor to say, look, what happens if suddenly a bunch of people on Twitter get really mad at you for dealing with Rebel News? Can you stand up to it? And if they say no, okay, rather know that before we go down that road, because I don't want a crisis the day before the event where an afraid landlord backs down. So we signed a really strong contract with the venue operator saying they could not cancel us for any reason really, other than not paying the money, which we paid in advance. But then the whole government of Canada came down like a ton of bricks on this venue operator. So understand, the land is owned by the federal government. It's leased to different companies. There's sports arenas, there's hockey, there's all sorts of stuff, soccer. And then there's all these like event venues that have a lease with Canada Lands. And we did a deal with a vendor called the Warehouse Venue. So suddenly the government of Canada is pressuring this guy, basically saying we're going to ruin you if you don't cancel your deal with Rebel News. But he said that, we had a contract. We didn't break the contract. The contract was very strong. It was very free speechy. What could he do? So here's what we found out in access to information requests. We did access to information requests of the different Canada Lands Company people. 500 pages of emails. What? About our little conference? 500 pages? You bet. And Sheila and Tamara, I don't think these folks had ever been the subject of an access to information request before, because holy smokes, did they put everything in writing. They put everything incriminating in writing. In fact, the lawsuit, I suppose I could go through it now, but I'll just tell you from memory because I've read it 10 times. You have senior executives for the Canada Lands Company saying, these are undesirables. What can we do to stop the undesirables? That's the word they use. It's like Hillary Clinton using the word deplorables. They literally say that. Hey, yeah, put this on the screen. Put it on the screen, the lawsuit. So we're suing because they violated our Section 2B freedoms under the Charter of Rights. Oh, I didn't mention what they did in the end. To get us to cancel it, they couldn't think of anything we had done wrong. So they lied. They said there's going to be a lot of protesters there. The police say there's a really high chance of protesters. You need to spend an extra $40,000 on security. And by the way, we had a lot of security already because Donald Trump Jr. was coming in. He rolls with a pretty serious security team. But they said, if you don't spend $40,000 on security, we're going to block this whole thing. Well, I don't have an extra $40,000. There's no way this conference could support $40,000. That would add $100 to every ticket. Well, our partners who were co-sponsoring the conference, Rumble, they said, we'll pay for it. And I had mixed feelings about that because it was so outrageous. It was a shakedown. It was extortion. I don't want them to pay a ransom. But on the other hand, I really wanted the conference to go ahead. So Rumble paid the money under duress, under protest. The conference went ahead. Yara Sachs raged about it. She did a tweet raging, calling it a hateful thing that no one in Toronto wanted. Really? It was sold out, sister. Anyways, when we got the access to information back, we saw they were giving regular briefings to the MPs. What? This is a private business deal. What are you doing blabbing about our private financial matters with politicians. I got one more thing I got to tell you about this access to information request. About 500 pages. Oh, and by the way, the cops, we got their access to information stuff too. The day before the conference, they said we have zero intel about any planned protests. There's not even any chatter. All the Antifa types in the city are down at the University of Toronto at their Hamas encampment. So not only was there no evidence, the police said, no one's coming. They're all, insulting Jews down at U of T today. And yet the government of Canada used that as the pretext to try and scupper our event. Here's the crazy thing. They redacted about 80% of this access to information document. So when they called us undesirable, when they said we got to find something to get them, when they said, I love a challenge, let's see if we can block these guys. That is the nicest 20%. Imagine what the other 80% of this access to information says. We will find out in the litigation, because the redactions and exemptions that you get on an access to information document, most of them do not apply in a lawsuit. So we sued the government, Yara Sachs, and 5 different bureaucrats and executives at the Canada Land Company. We sued them for the 40 grand back, and you can sue a government for what's called charter damages if they violate your rights. I think we got these bastards dead to right. They put it all in writing, you guys. I'm guessing they've never been sued before. You're putting your nefarious plan in writing on a government computer? Holy smokes. So we filed that lawsuit on Monday, us and rumble.com. I think we're going to win. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, yeah, go ahead, Tamara. I'll be quiet.
Well, I was just going to refer back to Yara Sachs' original comments at that time. She was calling us hateful, extremist views, bringing them to York Centre, and that our staff, commentators, and associates have espoused everything from anti-Semitism to Islamophobia. Those are the things she was saying.
Oh, the chutzpah of that. Remember, Yara Sachs is the monster who flew to Ramallah to pose with the mass murderer, arch-terrorist Mahmoud Abbas, the guy who not only financed the slaughter of Jews at the 1972 Munich Olympics in Germany, but he's behind the so-called pay for slay, that if your family member commits an act of terrorism against a Jew, Mahmoud Abbas, seen there with Melanie Joly and Yara Sachs, he will pay a pension to that family as a thank you reward for killing Jews. Yara Sachs calls us anti-Semitic. I'm a Jew. And she's the one. Look at that weird hand holding. Like, I don't
second
hold
base.
Yeah, second base are really weird. Anyhow, thanks for letting me take up half the live stream. But and I didn't even show anything from Brampton. Let me show you one video from Brampton. Pick any one you like, Olivia. I was in Brampton yesterday for this rally. It was a good rally, but I was a little bit worried about the state of the Conservative campaign. I won't lie. If I had to bet real money on it right now, I would say Liberal minority. And I do not like saying that. Could even be more, because the Jagmeet Singh vote is just vaporized. He'll have more time to be a TikTok creator when this is all done. And don't you worry, he's got his pension. Hey, throw a video up there from Brampton, anyone you want, Olivia. We brought the truck with us, by the way, which was pretty fun. And there was a weird moment when the police told us to move the truck. And I said, no, sister, I ain't moving that truck. And yeah, let's show that one. It was sort of weird. Take a look.
So I just spoke with some of the party representatives, and they do not particularly like the optics of this van driving around the parking lot. So we just kindly ask on behalf of the party that you just refrain from driving around the van if that's, you guys don't.
Well, are you speaking on behalf of the venue or this entire mall?
No, I'm speaking on behalf of the Conservative Party. They don't like the optics of the van drive. You don't, and that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that I pass that along to you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to talk to the party.
Are you guys going inside?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone in particular?
You know what? When you get inside, you can even ask one of the volunteers.
Yeah. So you're just passing on a message. This is not a police directive.
No, it's not. We do have a trespass to property for the building as well as the parking lot.
Oh, okay. Well,
we do have.
That'll be a very exciting moment if that happens.
and that's not. I'm just letting you know that there is one in place, but. Like
all right. Well,
said,
if you're going to trespass the truck, come and find me.
No. I'm just letting you know that there is one in place, and I was just kindly on behalf of the party asking that you refrain from driving the van around. It's the optics they don't seem to care for, but if that's a problem, then
Well, I mean, one of the reasons that I'm sympathetic to the consumer. Oh, thank you very much. I hope we earn it. Thank you. One of the reasons that I'm sympathetic to the Conservative Party. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, man.
Is that it's because I believe in freedom of speech, including the right to prickle at politicians of every stripe. So I hope the Conservative Party isn't becoming censorious and things like that.
No, not at all.
Now, I checked with the party, and they claim that no one in the party actually gave that order. And I talked to the cop afterwards, and I say, hey, the party denies it. I found her after the event, and she said, oh, maybe it was security who told me. But either way, toughen up. Like, it's a truck. It's our billboard truck. It's got a prickly message. That's what campaigns are all about. Oh, look at the truck. You know, the truck kept coming through the lineup.
Everybody loves it.
Everyone loves the truck. I love the truck the most. There's Isaac driving the truck. It's fun to drive that truck. That truck is so nice. It's so brightly lit. I mean, we've rented different kind of trucks before. Our truck, I have to say, I'm not just boasting. Scientifically speaking, objectively speaking, our truck is the best truck. It's big,
the most
it's
beautiful.
bright, it really is. We've rented some crappy trucks before. Not for us. This is the best. And I don't want to give away anything, but there is a chance that our truck will be attending a Mark Carney event very, very soon. And we'll see what reaction it gets. The truck has even been attacked. Someone threw a brick at the truck and broke. I don't want to give anyone an idea about it, but you know, that will not stop the truck. I want to tell you, even bricks don't stop this truck. And I think there's something within me, some psychological sort of itch that the truck soothes. Because, you know, I was raised middle class. I mean, my dad was a doctor. We were Jewish also. So we're sort of removed from the world of truckers, you know. I'm not going to say I'm a fancy pants. But
no, you've been like this since the convoy, though.
That's the thing. So the convoy I saw, as Orwell wrote in 1984, as he said, if there is any hope, it's with the proles. Orwell knew that there are some ideas so stupid, only a PhD could believe them. And he knew what I think we all learn in life is that the elites, you know, they value being in that elite. And the truckers who were beholden to no one, many truckers are independent. They were the ones who saved Canada, the working classes, many of them ethnic, many of them indigenous, many of them are Quebecers. It was the proletariat workers' revolution that was completely peaceful, and it was for freedom. It was not a revolution for socialism. It was a revolution for freedom, the most peaceful protest in Canadian history. And do we not owe them a great debt? And do you not want to be a part of it? I went down there. Can you find my 90-second speech to the truckers? Do you know how to find that one? That was one of the proudest speeches I ever gave in my life, and it was only 90 seconds. To be asked by the truckers to hop up on their platform and say a word to them, I was overcome by a kind of gratitude, an emotion of gratitude to them for doing what no other institution in the country would do. And ever since then, Sheila, I've sort of daydreamed, what would I have done if I had had a truck? And yeah, here's my speech from the first weekend of the truckers. Go ahead.
Rebel News! Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. It is cold today. Almost as cold as Justin Trudeau's heart. It's great to be here, and on behalf of Rebel News, I salute you, and I say keep speaking truth to power. But I want to tell you what excites me the most about this crowd. I see a lot of cameras, a lot of independent journalists, because when people say, what do we do about the media? I say you become the media. That's what you do. The media acts like a party. The media party. It's a subsidiary of the Liberal Party. So you've got to tell the story yourselves. Everyone who was here, everyone who was along the road has to bear witness and testify to what they saw. Because there's two competing narratives. The government says you're racist. The government says you're sexist. The government says you're violent. In the meantime, I've never seen a more diverse group of Canadians. But far from violence, people want to not be violated anymore. Justin Trudeau says you're extreme, but he's the one who has violated our civil rights. He says you're a fringe. Well, that's a pretty bloody big fringe. Let me close by saying this. Someone asked me this morning, what's the point? What's going to happen? Why did we all gather in Ottawa? Is he going to listen? Is he going to resign? Is the Governor General going to ask him to step down? No, he'll hold on to power as hard as he can. Let me tell you what I think the point is. The point is the convoy itself. To show that you're not alone. To show that you're not the crazy one, they are. To show that you're not the un-Canadian one, they are. You already achieved your goal just by being here. And the fact that millions of dollars came into the GoFundMe for the truckers, even if they would have canceled that, it was still a success because it was a measurement of how much people cared. You have succeeded just by being here. Good luck. Keep up the fight. Congratulations to the organizers, but really, it was millions of Canadians along the way in the convoy and watching today from home. Tell them what happened. Tell them what you saw, because they will not hear the truth from anyone else. Keep up the fight, everybody. Keep fighting for freedom.
That was the moment when I wished that rather than going to law school or business school, just for a moment, I thought, boy, I wish I was a trucker.
A man of the road.
And in my own way, in my own small, tiny way, getting that truck and deploying it for freedom is my homage to the truckers of this country. And thank you for letting me play that little blast from the past 3 years ago. I sort of forgot what I had said, but it came from the heart. And that was the shortest speech I've ever given in my life, by the way.
Completely.
And thanks for letting me play it again. The spirit of the truck lives on in our billboard truck, which the bad guys hate and the good guys love. And that's where I want to be every time. So thanks for letting me pop on the show for 4.5 minutes times 10. And I'll say goodbye to you guys. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but tomorrow I'm going to be in London, England. I'm hopping on a flight this afternoon. I'm going to London because Tommy Robinson has his legal appeal. If you can believe it, he's appealing his sentencing at the High Court, and the Lady High Justice of the United Kingdom and Wales. That's her title. Isn't that I want to tell you the title of the judge who's presiding, because it's the Lady Chief Justice of England and Wales is presiding. That's quite a title, don't you think?
How do
It'll be a big.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
We keep interrupting. Sorry, Sheila. It'll be a big deal. And, there's no one better to be there to represent that and pass the message along of what's going on with Tommy than you, Ezra.
Well, thanks for that. I'm going to live tweet up a storm. I'll be doing it at TommyReports.com. And if you can help me crowdfund my flight and back, I'd be grateful. You can do that at TommyReports.com. I like live tweeting because I'm a former lawyer, so I sort of understand what's going on in the court, even though it's slightly different than Canadian procedure. And I'm a fast typist. When I was a teenager, my folks sent me to typing school for one summer, and I'm so grateful they did, because I can type faster than the bad guys who are in the room live tweeting for like The Guardian and the BBC. And they hate that. Once I was in court in the UK typing up a storm, tickety-tap, like I was fast typing, but I may praise myself. And Dominique Casciani, a reporter for the BBC, for every one tweet he got out, I'm not kidding when I say I had 5. So it was like that. It was like that Peanuts cartoon of, Charlie Brown throwing one snowball and Lucy throwing bam, 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 5 in return. I was winning the Twitter war in court. What I'm about to say is the God's truth. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a clerk give a note to a judge. All the judges immediately stand up and leave the courtroom. And my first thought is, oh my God, is there a security incident here? But then I thought, no, that doesn't make sense, because they only cleared the judges out. The rest of us are here. What on earth did the clerk pass on to the judge to make them all immediately leave the courtroom? This was a Tommy Robinson hearing. And so we're literally all sitting in this room. Where did the judges go? No one knows. And it turns into 1 minute, it turns into 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, it's got nothing to do with me. Just because I'm me doesn't mean everything has to do with me. Shut up, Ezra. It's not always about you. It's got nothing to do with you. But then it turns into 10 minutes, and I just go down to the clerk and I say, this is going to sound insane. But that note you passed to the judge that's got nothing to do with me, does it? I know that's insane to ask. I just got to know. And the clerk said, well, actually, yes, it does. What? And the clerk says, a reporter has complained about your live tweeting, and so the judges are considering it. I said, oh my God. I said, I got permission to live tweet before. I've done it a dozen times before. I do not wish to interrupt this trial. I'm happy to present myself in the judge's chambers and do anything she says. I'll even stop. This is her court. I'm not here to interrupt. Please tell the judge. Clerk goes in. Clerk comes out and says, just stay here. The judges come back out and they say, according to rule blah, 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 live tweeting is fine, just no video cameras or photography. Let's get back to work. And they do. What is the point of that story? Imagine the government journalist at the BBC state broadcaster so angry that my sympathetic tweets about Tommy Robinson are getting millions of impressions, while his BS for the BBC is only being read by his buddies, that he interrupts a trial in which he is a nobody. He is not a party. He's not a lawyer. A man's freedom was in the balance. And this journalist thinks he has the right, the standing, to pass a note to the judge in the middle of someone else's trial, to tattletale on a rival journalist? Dominique Casciani, what a piece of shit. Forgive my... in the UK, they would use a different swear, which would terrify you two ladies, so I'm not going to use it.
Thank you.
That's the state... just stop and think about that. I'm tweeting. I'm following the rules. I know the rules because it's so important to me to do this right. I've done this a half dozen times, and the BBC stops a trial to tattle to the judge that I'm live tweeting the proceedings. That is a true story.
Ezra, before we let you go, because your brief appearance has turned into the entire show, if people at home want to help you with your passion of keeping the truck on the road, what's the best way to do that?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I love the truck.
Yes, I know.
And the truck loves me.
Yes.
I just sense it. If you go to savethetruck.com, that's a way to do it. Because we did have to rebuild the transmission. The TV part of the truck is brand new construction, but we bought a used truck underneath it. And we did that to save a bunch of money. I'm not so sure in the long term if that was smart, because we've already had to rebuild the transmission, which costs us a fair bit of dough. But if you go to savethetruck.com, I'd really appreciate. So you could see that we met with. I'm not sure if, that's him there. That was the mechanic who was such a fan of Rebel News. He basically did the labor for free. but there was a lot of stuff he had to pay for. Like, I don't know. I'm not very good with auto. I didn't take shop in school. I
Right.
regret that. I wish I took shop, and I wish I took Latin in school. Both have, they're the opposite ends of the usefulness spectrum. But had I taken shop, maybe I'd know a little bit more about trucks. Yeah, there we go. So that fella there, there's a couple of handsome guys in this shot here. Look at the truck up on the rig there. So this is when we had, you see, there's the boss. And we needed to rebuild the transmission. There's a truck up on the hoist there. Boy, that's a beauty. That's a big truck. That's so heavy. Those TVs on the back are so heavy.
Yeah.
It needs a special pneumatic suspension, because when you don't want to hit a big bump when you've got those TVs going on. It's got a generator in the back, Sheila. So it runs off its own diesel generator. It does not run off the truck's electricity. And thus ends all of my knowledge about the truck. I don't know anything more than what I've just said.
What a
All
beautiful
right.
sight. It's always so well received on the streets. We just love it. And people love it. And it's bright and it's fresh and it's clear.
Thank
There's
you
so
very
much
much.
clarity.
I could listen. Yeah, keep going. I could listen. I could listen.
Keep going.
It's looks like I've been on for 7 minutes, so I should go, because I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much time. But thank you, ladies, for letting me barge
It's your
in.
network.
And and I actually, to be serious, I have to run to go
I
to the
know.
airport to cover Tommy's thing. So please go to TommyReports.com or follow me on Twitter. I really think the Tommy Robinson case is applicable to so many things around the world. People say, Ezra, why do you care about him? Well, I mean, he's a friend of mine. But I always say, going to the UK, it's like I hop in my dystopian time machine. Let's go 5 years into the future and see what life would be like in Canada if we don't change course. Because if we go down the road of lawfare and censorship for 5 more years and mass immigration, let's not deny that that's a factor, we will be what the UK is. And I have to say, every time I arrive in that country, I also wince, because I know 5 people who are foreigners who used to visit the UK who have been banned from visiting the UK because of their politics. 5 people, including one of them, a former rebel journalist, has been banned from even visiting the UK. And I certainly hope that doesn't happen to me. But for all I know, it could. I shouldn't tempt the devil. Anyways, I'll say goodbye, you guys. Thank you.
Safe
Bye,
travels,
boss.
Ezra.
Okay, bye.
Thanks. We'll hit a Rebel News ad break, and we'll come back and talk about whatever we have time left to talk about, although we did hit a lot of topics with Ezra. So we'll hit an ad break. We'll come back. We'll read a couple of chats, and then we'll talk about some public safety issue stuff.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
All right. I'm going to read just a couple of chats because they're K Pascal gives us $10. We don't have a chat there though, but we sure appreciate that. If there is a chat, maybe somebody on the team can look and see if K's just didn't attach. And Alex Greer 279 says, "Go Rebel, go." Okay. Appreciate that. And we definitely will. As you can see, Ezra is full of enthusiasm, although trepidation for the election. I want to show you this clip, and I thought it was I'll ask everybody afterwards. Maybe let us know in the chat what you think. But I want to show you this clip first. And this is on the campaign trail. And I think it dovetails perfectly into the fact that Poilievre's rally was about public safety, and he was receiving police union endorsements. Now we've got the trade unions, we've got the police unions endorsing him now. We definitely know the journalists union is not endorsing him. However, but it was at a public event yesterday. A woman tells Poilievre about her best friend's murder, and she's there with the family of the woman at the hands of her partner. The murdered woman's brother is right there. And as I said, this family is living through the horrors of the Liberals' unsafe Canada. I just want you to pay attention to the reaction of Pierre Poilievre and his wife, Anna, to this family.
Here's a picture of Angie Sweeney. She was an IPV murder victim in Sault Ste. Marie with 3 young children last October. She supported you. She loved you. That's you, your wife, and her. She was murdered in this community. IPV is important to this community. We have been affected. This is my best friend. She was murdered.
This is my sister.
This is her. She was murdered in this community a year and a half ago by her partner, and she loved you, and she was murdered in front of her 12-year-old daughter in her house, along with 3 children, and we need change.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, this is our best friend, sister, and she believed in you. We believe in you, but we need change for
Our
this,
families are going through hell.
right? So it's so important to us. I know you talked about it Friday in Quebec, and it's just such a huge mission of ours. Like, we are advocating for it. We started a nonprofit in her memory, and we're just trying to do everything we can, because this community will never be the same from the events that happened on October 23rd, 2023. So it's just means everything for
Thank you
us.
for starting the change.
Thank you so much, guys.
Appreciate it.
We're going to do this change in her honor.
I appreciate that.
Thank you,
Pierre.
Thank you,
But it's really important.
Thank you very much.
It means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anita.
Look at Anna.
Thank you, buddy.
I will be voting for you too.
You guys keep me going. I'm really moved by this. Do you have any contact information? We can stay in touch.
Yeah.
Matt will grab that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
it's Friday.
Big change is coming.
It is.
As early as tomorrow. Look out for
Awesome.
tomorrow. And, you told me all about you. We were just meeting backstage, and he was telling me the story. And we're going to act big time.
Perfect. Well, she had your back. She believed in you, right? So she was a huge fan. For sure.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the crime and the chaos that has been plaguing Canadian streets for a decade it's reached levels that everyone is affected by it now. It's no longer just an anomaly where it's here or there, or, there's random bits, but the proliferation of it is, you cannot ignore it anymore.
No. And when I saw this, I thought, politicians, of course, are polished and they have their talking points or whatever. But I think we saw the Poilievres at their authentic best right there. Anna Poilievre left that interaction bawling. They took time to acknowledge this family, to stay in contact with the family. They said that they had heard about the family from somebody else that they had met at the rally. And I just looked at this and I thought, could anybody in their wildest fever dream imagine those 2 inauthentic robotic lizards known as the Carneys reacting to this family this way? The Carneys would not have been in a place to be even that close to the public to hear the stories of the people affected by the bad Liberal policies in their communities, let alone meet them, console them, and promise them that they were going to do their best to make it better.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is hot off the heels of Poilievre's press conference yesterday in Sault Ste. Marie with a similar vein, where he broke down the absolutely disturbing crime stats. I just pulled up my article I did a video on it yesterday, but the article here, just so that I make sure that I get the numbers right. Violent crime up 50%. Gun crime, despite all the gun grabs and the attempts at legislating legal, lawful gun owners, gun crime is up 116%. Gang homicides up 78%, extortion 46%, and auto theft theft is up. It's unbelievable. It's up 357%. Like, these are crazy, crazy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday there was a moment in the Poilievre rally where he asked the crowd how many of them had had their car stolen. And I
Yeah.
said this off the top of the show, like a quarter of the crowd raised their hand. And a lot of these are like foreign gangs stealing Canadian cars, putting them in sea cans and shipping them offshore because we don't have enough border agents at our ports of entry. So, I mean, it's just, this is everywhere. And we heard Mark Carney yesterday. Poilievre is proposing 3 strikes and you're out.
Mhm.
And it's 3 strikes and basically then you'll get 10 years, which is pretty
Minimum.
reasonable. That's minimum.
Minimum.
But 3 violent crimes and you would only get 10 years. And the Carney Liberals are claiming that this is too much. It doesn't work. Well, whatever they're doing doesn't work. Tell that family, Mark Carney, that the killer of their loved one doesn't deserve a harsher sentence. You don't go to just from 0 to killing somebody. I bet you that guy had at least 3 serious violent offenses under his belt before he killed that woman's best friend and that man's sister. I mean, I bet you. I'd be surprised to be wrong on that one. And so he should have been behind bars instead of able to murder that woman. And if left up to Mark Carney, he would have, the scenario that that family is living through, according to Mark Carney, is perfectly acceptable because we can't make changes to this sort of stuff.
Yeah, the bail reform has unleashed a wave of terror on the streets, with repeat offenders knowing full well that there's no repercussions, there's no recourse for their actions, and they can continue to be catch and release. And the police are equally as frustrated because they are trying to do their jobs, and then the judicial system just lets these people back out on the streets within 12 hours. So it's this circle that it never ends. And so there needs to be a change, because we're seeing it unfold and unleash even on the safest of streets that usually, people didn't used to have to lock their houses, even lock their cars when they went to the grocery store. And now you're seeing human traffickers popping up in your friendly neighborhood Costco. So this obviously needs to be immediately addressed. And it's a huge campaign and election issue as we head to the polls in, as Ezra said repeatedly, 18 days from now.
Oh, yeah. And I just don't know how people who are living through, I mean, I'm not in the big city, so I don't know, but I also know rural crime is like skyrocketing.
Yes.
I don't know how you can be in the big city of Toronto, look around you and say, this place is just fine. Like, I don't know how you can feel that way. And you can look at Mark Carney, who says, actually, we don't need to change these things. Because obviously the system is working. Well, it's probably working for him. He doesn't live in Canada. Like,
and he
behind
gets
his
to
gated
tour around
community. Yeah.
with his paid for RCMP detail. So Mark Carney is just showing how out of touch he really is. But let's just get to a quick ad read because we missed it earlier from 1775 Coffee. They are letting us know, and we should share with you, that weak coffee is for the weak. And Rumble, weak has never been part of their mission. There's no fillers, there's no fraud, no settling for mediocrity, just like 1775 Coffee. It's single origin, small farm, hand-picked, specialty grade coffee that stands for quality, free speech, and calling out BS when it matters. Forget stale, mass-produced beans roasted just enough to hide the flaws. Dark roast hits like a Trump tariff. Medium roast keeps it bold without the bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Blend is real energy and lasting focus. No synthetic garbage. For K-Cup pods, whole bean, or fresh ground coffee, go to 1775coffee.com. Use code STUDIO for 15% off and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. And every dollar spent enters you to win a Cybertruck and $30,000 in cash. So there you go. I'd actually love to try their mushroom blend. That sounds really good. I've tried just their generic, I think it was the dark roast, and it was really good.
We've got a chat here, and then we've got to touch on the gun stuff. Why? Because it's important to me, but also because it's in the YouTube headline. So we've got a chat here from our friend Annalisa. She is the president of the David Menzies fan club. membership, I think, of one. And she goes, it's $13.99, and I'm teasing her because she always teases me by making me read horrific compliments to David Menzies. She says, yay, I get to watch a live show. You ladies are amazing. I told myself I wouldn't embarrass Sheila today. You're welcome. Haha. Well, thanks, Annalisa. Appreciate that. Yeah, no David Menzies today, so no grotesque compliment for me to read
Tomorrow,
to him.
maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, no thirsty compliment from Annalisa. Okay, let's get into
I think we just have a clip.
liberal. Yeah, we've got the Liberal government. In case you were thinking that maybe Mark Carney, because he's boring, would take a more measured approach to firearms ownership in this country, your first clue would have been the selection of Natalie Provo from Poilievre, which is the radical gun control group that has had the ear of the government for, I guess, the last 20 years, with the exception of the 10 years that Stephen Harper was in power. Actually, it's probably closer to 30 years because they were instrumental in the first gun registry. She is running for the Liberals, so that should tell you something. She actually quit the Liberals' gun grab panel because they weren't grabbing our guns fast enough. So, and then Mark Carney rounds her up. Now, Liberal Minister Bill Blair, I'm surprised he's still alive. He promotes the lie that the Liberal Party respects legal gun owners despite constant demonization and a pledge to just take our private property, our family heirlooms, and stick them in a crusher because, well, it's a lot easier to deal with us than it is to deal with the gangs in Toronto that Bill Blair oversaw their takeover when he was the police chief there.
Our government has promised Canadians that we will do everything required to keep them safe. And we have also promised Canadians that we would strengthen gun control in this country. And let me be very clear, this is not directed towards the firearms that are used by hunters and sport shooters in Canada. Those hunters and sport shooters obey our laws, and they earn the privilege of firearm ownership through their hard work. They buy their guns legally, they store them safely, they use them responsibly, and they follow all of our laws. But we also know that there are other firearms that have no place in Canadian society. We know that those firearms have been used, they were designed to kill people, and they have been used to kill people here in Canada, at École Polytechnique, at Portapique, in Moncton, in Fredericton, in Meyerthorpe, and in places right across this country. And they are used every single day in the United States to kill people. Mr. Poilievre has promised the gun lobby that he will weaken our gun laws. Mr. Poilievre has promised the gun lobby that he will restore the legality of assault rifles in our communities. And he's promised the gun lobby that he will give us American-style gun laws. Canada is not America, and we need to stand up for our country, our values, and our beliefs. And we need to do everything possible to keep our communities safe.
Yeah. Meanwhile, crime and gun smuggling across the border just continue unabated.
Yep. Well, and he's a liar. He lies through his teeth. We're not going to take hunting rifles. They are going to take hunting rifles, and it doesn't matter how much you try to follow the rules. It's never enough. For example, the Crusader Arms crypto rifle. Crusader Arms is a gun manufacturer in Ontario for the elbows up people who want to buy Canadian. They developed the crypto specifically to be C21 compliant. By the way, if you need a firearm, shop these guys. I'm not sponsored by them, but they did their best to provide a cool C21 that's their gun grab law compliant gun. And it was the crypto. Guess what? The Liberals last week, well, the RCMP Firearms Office, so by extension, the Liberal government, because all the powers that they have, they are granted by the Liberal government. They banned the crypto, which was manufactured to meet all the specs laid out by the Liberal government. And it didn't matter because they can do this arbitrarily, and they've been doing it arbitrarily all along. They say they don't want to take your hunting rifles. They outlawed the Mini 14 ranch rifle, which is like a Badger gun. Do you think that gangsters in Toronto or in the lower mainland of BC are using Mini 14 ranch rifles to protect their super labs? No. people are using it to protect their geese. This is the dumbest thing. Everything he says, there's an absolute lie. But maybe he doesn't know what he's saying, because I'm fully convinced that Bill Blair might be senile based on his foreign interference testimony.
Well, and you know they're about to spit out some nonsense as soon as they say, "Let me be very clear." And then,
Right.
yeah, and then they have the clarity of mud. So that's my clue. That's my first clue all the time whenever any of these people are up giving any sort of speeches or announcements. When they start saying, "Let me be very clear," I'm like, okay, I know now that this is the part that we're going to be able to really easily pick apart.
I think we have one chat, then we'll shut her down because Ezra needs the studio before he leaves for Ireland. So time is of the essence. We've got one from Ableist SL, $5. There are complaints. Now I'd like to hear who is making these complaints, and I'd like to see evidence for the validity of their complaints. There are complaints that Pierre Poilievre's wife defended the lockdowns. I have not seen that. Can he please make her issue a public apology for defending the worthless bullshit? Again, I didn't see that. And if my husband attempted to shoehorn a public apology out of me, we'd have problems in our domestic bliss. So I'm not, I don't encourage husbands to try to wring compelled speech out of their wives for any reason whatsoever. But I haven't seen her say it. I've seen complainers talking about it, but I don't actually know what she said. So if you have that, please send it to me. Also, gun grabbers must die. I don't want them to die. I just want them to leave me alone. And I'll leave them alone, and everybody will be happy. We'll coexist, as the bumper sticker says.
Yeah, and just while we're on the topic of Poilievre and the Conservative Party, I do want to mention that David Menzies was in Milton this morning at a Pierre Poilievre presser. We have attempted to ask questions at all of the pressers since the writ dropped. When was that? April, about 10 days ago?
Yeah.
And, or just before. And we have unsuccessfully been able to ask a question at one of these Poilievre pressers. So that's a little bit concerning and unexpected, because David had previously been treated very respectfully, and, you know, like all the other people and journalists from the media party, was able to get a question in. And then as soon as the campaign trail kicked off, we haven't been able to interview, get questions to any Conservative MP, or I guess now the Conservative candidates. So for what it's worth, we wanted to mention that on the live stream today and see how the rest of the 18 days unfolds, because it's a great opportunity for your voices to be represented by us as rebel journalists.
Right. And so that's why I find the whining of the mainstream media, because the media only gets 4 questions. You're pulled out of the crowd. And then the media is supposed to stand like in this little area before they ask the questions. And the whining and the crying and the gnashing of the teeth on the internet from these mainstream media cry bullies is unbelievable. They're saying this is censorship and blah, blah, blah. You're there. Try to be an independent journalist going to a Carney event. Just because Poilievre won't take all your questions for the next 2 hours, even ones that he's answered, because I saw Judy Trin, the biggest whiner of them all, crying because Poilievre didn't once again answer the thing he's answered a gajillion times about, and that's his security clearance. He's given 1,000 responses on this. They're all the same. It's because he doesn't want to be gagged on issues of foreign interference, which seems highly relevant today, given Mark Carney meeting with the Beijing-linked business council and then lying about it. The appalling treatment of the independent media by Carney, while the mainstream media turns a blind eye to it, and now they're whining because they don't get preferential treatment from Pierre Poilievre. It's a bit much, considering we even have difficulty getting questions in, although no one's called the cops on us. Quick
True. Step in the right direction.
Okay, so quick, I just grabbed a fact check. There's from Ellie Canton Nantel. He said there's a conspiracy going around the internet about how Pierre Poilievre's wife Anna was the CEO of COVID-19 testing company Health Switch. It's completely false anyways. I think, I don't know.
We have a screenshot too from Calvinder Cargill. She was the MD that was very outspoken against lockdowns. And I guess this publication, the screenshot comes from prettyandsmartco.com. Like, it was written by Anna Poilievre, but I haven't seen the original for myself. And so
Yeah, I
it
want to see
basically,
the I
don't
want to
know
see the
when.
original.
I don't know when it was published either, because I, for one, I was like, okay, 2 weeks, that makes sense, right? You build capacity, you get ready for, the
I
narrative at the
think we
time
all
was
felt that way. Yep.
brace for the surge. And I was like, okay, I can do 2 weeks. And then as soon as those 2 weeks turned to 3 weeks, those 3 weeks turned to 4 weeks, I was like, wait a second, none of this makes sense. People aren't dropping like flies. The hospitals are empty. So what's really happening here? So, I would give her the benefit of the doubt, depending on when this was written, that those
March
2 weeks.
29th, 2020. So that was within the first 2 weeks. So I know Drea was a mask wearer. David Menzies had his microphone on a stick when he was out. Ezra was like, yeah, if you guys want
I
to stay
remember
home
that.
for 2 weeks, that's okay. I think nobody knew anything during those 2 weeks. So that is like from March 29, 2020. So I think the majority of the world, except for the like super skeptics, which turned out to be right. I'm not attacking you guys. But everyone was like, fine, we'll go along.
2
But yeah, that's
weeks.
within the 2 weeks, by the way. When was the pandemic declared? March 20th or something? So it's like
17th, because it's my daughter. I remember clearly because it's my daughter's
Okay.
birthday. Yeah.
So we're like a week into the pandemic there, you guys, 12 days.
Yeah. I wouldn't
Good,
necessarily
have
use this
some
language,
grace.
but
I
anyway.
wouldn't, but have some grace. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah. We did
All right.
we did our best to stay home during that time. But after the 2 weeks, I was like, no, we gave you 2 weeks. This is ridiculous.
I don't like to leave the farm as a rule, but after that 2 weeks I was like, I'm leaving just for spite now. So
now that the
yeah.
government's telling me to do something, I'm actually just going to do the opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Dale DD says, nice sweatshirt, Sheila. Well, I would love to tell you that this is a Rebel News sweatshirt. It's on rebelnewsstore.com. You'll find it there. All your other issue-related merchandise for the conservative in your life, it's all there. So rebelnewsstore.com. Use the coupon code Sheila for 10% off.
Or Tamara 10, whichever you fancy.
Tamara 10 is only 9%. I'm kidding.
There you
That's
go.
fake news. Okay, let's wrap. Tamara, thanks so much for joining me on the show today. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who works behind the scenes to make sure the show is there for you when you want it. Thanks to Ezra for taking up just about the full show, but he's got a lot to say and he's always entertaining. I could listen to Ezra talk all day. Thanks to everybody who pitched in a little bit to keep the lights on here at Rebel News and our sponsorship partners like 1775 Coffee. And I guess we'll see you all again, same time, same place tomorrow. And as my friend David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.